the leafy district away hard the rest. The government slash insolvency aid people who are out of people and his social safety away from family on handouts and charity.
Meu pai faz
3 weeks ago,
tava lá no grosso, meu pai
he worked faster.
pegou Covid
His condition deteriorated days. He died and had no idea.
sabia ligou.
The homeless housing, drug cost roll. But many people have lost jobs during the pandemic. But it can't. Their situation became increasingly and so they and their children descend to the a hard world. Everyone is just struggling by.
None is risen by over 50% alone due to the virus.
Sem proteção.
Some people did have a place to sleep, but were not able to afford any food. They had to live on the street.
Não conseguem também, por isso vão para a rua.
Amanda, Jonathan, and their baby boy might soon find themselves in that situation. They're living in a squat, but the landlord wants to evict them. The pandemic cost Jonathan his job in a restaurant. Desperate to feed his family, he bought some cigarette and a payment card reader, hoping to He's applied for a job at barber shops, but with no luck so far.
Eu sei que essa profissão ela não para.
There's always demand for barbers.
É uma das primeiras profissões do mundo.
It's one of the oldest professions there is.
Eu sei que essa profissão
Barbers used to have a similar function to doctors. They even performed minor surgery.
Fazia cirurgia.
Padre Julio gives the family a little problem. The rich aren't just indifferent to the poverty, workers with no rights. The has just shrugged that off, and Padre doesn't.
I think I'll die before it happens. It's a system that's been around for a long time.
Padre Julio, Brazil's poor will pull the from their hands. He doesn't to see that it's his hope for the future.
Mother Nature has its own defenses against diseases, environmental pollution, and a lack of resources, and some of them are astounding. Take fungi, for example. The fleshy part of a fungus are the mushrooms or toadstools we see above ground. Beneath the soil is a wealth of mycelium, the vegetative part of a fungus. That's where the real magic happens. In Saudi Arabia, researchers discovered a fossil they first thought was a tree. It was actually an 8-meter-tall mushroom through 5 million years ago. Of the humongous fungus in Oregon stretches over 9 square kilometers and is considered the largest organism on Earth. And fungi were crucial to the development of life on Earth. They mined rocks for the minerals plants needed to grow and helped create an oxygen-rich atmosphere. So could fungi now also help save the environment?
They're among the most remarkable organisms on Earth, yet mostly invisible. Their web expands and connects the entire ecosystem, and they're essential for the cycle of life.
Kingdom had a decisive role in the evolution of life, and not just in the previous time, but even in current time.
They degrade almost everything, sponge up some of the most hazardous pollutants, and can even create entirely new materials. Their magic you would imagine. Could they actually clean up on our planet and become the building blocks of our future? Fungi are among the few organisms on the planet that can significantly break down lignin, a component in wood cells, but also present in fruits and any kind of tree or plant that decays after dying. Fungi are essential to keeping our soils healthy, and scientists are just beginning to explore their amazing capabilities.
So if fungi can help the composition of a living thing, which is more complex than any organism, the set of organisms can also help them any organic pollutants in the environment.
Some 54,000 oil fields worldwide, illegal extraction and refinery oil lines have led to an estimated 5 billion sites. Oil contains range, among them polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAH, pollutants of our time. They kill flora and fauna, damage organs, and humans and animals. In 1998, scientists found the grow contaminated soil, in this case, mushrooms. After weeks, the total amount of contaminants in the soil plummeted by 99%, with PAHs also broken down into less toxic substances. But just how do fungi function? Well, since organic pollutants fuel originate from dead organic matter, fungi degrade them with the same enzyme they degrade wood and leaves with. Contaminants are chopped into smaller compounds which are less harmful or not dangerous at all, so they can become part of the nutrient cycle again. Some are degraded to CO2 or water.
The concept of going back to organisms which naturally perform the role of degradation and using them to degrade and wipe out pollutants in the environment is a very promising route.
It doesn't end with organic. Fungi can also treat soils contaminated with lead, mining operations, or even radioactive elements. In 1986, a nuclear reactor meltdown and explosion in Chernobyl spread devastating radioactive contamination, making the region uninhabitable to this day. In a trial near the nuclear reactor, Erika Kote used fungi together with host plants.
We could show that strontium, which is a radioactive element, half of the bioavailable strontium could be taken up by the sunflower in the growth period of 12 weeks.
Later, the plants can be cut down, burned, and the strontium-enriched ashes can be stored more safely. The soil is left significantly cleaner. What the fungi do here is change the mobility of the elements, fixing them in the soil, absorbing them, or helping plants take them up. Samples taken close to a Russian industrial site showed that fungi accumulated up to 40 times more nickel and copper than the soil. So we might already be holding the solutions for heavily polluted soil in our hands. But as promising as some experiments are, many also fail.
That means I have 10 different experimental setups, and it went well in 7 and it didn't go well in 3, or the other way around. So what should I do? I can put that as a basis of putting into action the remediation schemes as an authority.
Treating soils with fungi is feasible in rather small areas. It's cheaper and more eco-friendly than conventional methods for removing and burning it. It's not an easy method, though, especially in entire forests or mining regions. Ecosystems are unique, and translocated fungi do not necessarily go in them. Promoting species can do the job would be, but it takes time to pay. Of course, fungi also decompose organic waste from agriculture and the food industry. So what about using their power to degrade organic matter to build the blocks of our future, like building a home made of room? Walls and cellars, and not about living like the Smurfs do in the TV series either. Well, maybe. It might sound strange, but in 2014, architectural team The Living built this 12-meter high tower in New York City. But not with stone, bricks, or concrete. Yes, you guessed it. They used 10,000 bricks of mycelium.
They're very inexpensive to produce. They can be grown and fabricated in almost any conditions, so they don't need specialized equipment. And then when you actually put these bricks out into the world, they're very strong, especially for their weight, but they're a lightweight brick.
David Benjamin headed the project and is associate professor for sustainable architecture at Columbia University. The production of materials like concrete and steel for construction are responsible for roughly 10% of the world's carbon dioxide emissions. On the other hand, crop produce around the world are burned. In Delhi, for example, contribute significantly to the city's air pollution in the winter. This is the alternative. Cow residues from this, which placed old this colony all the agricultural waste rise into a solid brick form, low. The material is air resistant and has excellent properties, so it can hold its own against concrete, styrene, and plastic. The bricks simply.
I can imagine people all over the world, in resource environments, growing their own brick. It's totally viable.
Bricks aren't as firm. However, combining the mycelium of like food stress evenly, scientists from the University of show
challenges is durability, because this is a material where if it gets damaged or cut, it has to absorb pressure.
That means, to make it a realistic approach for housing, future homes would need different layers, using our mushroom bricks as the core of a wall, but protecting them from moisture damage from the outside. Okay, the mycelium bricks aren't firm enough to build a skyscraper yet, but for low-rise buildings, they could actually work. The idea of still example more likely to be than in neighborhoods, but the huge lives in almost every region and in any element. With our growing population, the need for affordable and sustainable housing as well. Local and easy means of meeting demands. With accelerating climate change, pollution putting increasing pressure on our ecosystems, methods to tackle its degradation are becoming urgent. Or another, fungi will be essential to the health of our planet. Each to their power.
Sustain and effect our game changer in climate change and combat the rise in poverty. In, for example, cocoa farming, and cocoa is the country's most important export product. 1.6 million people work on cocoa farms, but many live in precarious conditions. Work hard, but also enough to fast. Went to Western Ghana to find out more.
Check of cocoa trees remove excess dictation. Aside from cocoa, he'll be coming back. With just glances, is what Adam Sydney has done. Orders this fruit, a of chopped it up, and the beans are threatening the other fruits too. And there's another problem.
This tree takes water as to through the root. You see a lot of coming out. You see that it is in that which means it's very the dry season. But on the other hand, because too much it is competing for what nutrient plants.
Fact oils be a problem is not a Hussein. The only a cocoa farmer who rehabilitated farm port of Chicago was decided to job as
food, feed the family, and then some of the food that he sells to there's or he comes one way or the other. Even after to food farming.
Usually years fruit the time until harvest. He heard of
Initially, when I was about for some of my nuts, now you improve. Maybe from the farm, just cut. If I'm selling, maybe life could get better in the future.
Back cocoa farm, most cultural is the right cocoa. It's my need start. Divide root, regroup, base quality. Also make predictions for feed.
It looks like for 64 kilograms is able to get 8 of ages. We can
Adam Husseini can only this goal if he manages his farm correctly. I'm required to be that energy into the and warns against pesticides.
Close to the we have the not to use because the ice is the soil is making head manage make it loose and good.
Mine compost ability is being built just a few kilometers away. Production is scheduled for just weeks. Coming for the farmers.
Farmers that will pick the cocoa have price. So the cocoa season. But you guys have in such a way at that time they can pay and doing the
first the soil with is not though chanting farm West Ghana with new challenges. Farm and every
so go. Otherwise it will die. The hammer time.
They're easier now. The SNV drilled Orlando Osmanos farm installed an irrigation system. A pilot for
some people stopped water for me. I didn't do anything. I didn't have to work food. Workers would sleep. When they were finished, they just give me this machine. Never expecting like for an to cost $21. Couldn't have been able to come up with even if the family sold everything.
But Smart has to take care of the maintenance of the well and dump water to neighbors. This irrigation all production to 50%. In the county, knows irrigation is critical. Officials will increase yield by 5,000 tons to a total of 5 million tons, with bring more jungle and without control.
Bulls do rices hasn't helped much. We are going to use streams and perennial streams. So we have located those areas. 4,000 hectares.
The way, and so Adam Staney discuss and benefit from the program. System from Bookbod.
Youth here, those are cocoa farmers. They are self-in.
But instead, Adam is trying of his plantation as possible in compost and hope tree continue strong and healthy.
So, and we continue us at Global3000 at DW.com. DW Global Ideas.
Als 15 jaar ben ik van naar Europa vertrokken. Ik kan niet doorgaan.
Het was heel hij deel van Afghanistan. Het is Binda, hij is 20. Ik kan België en ik deed daar samen in.
Ja, stap voor stap ben ik verder gegaan, maar die stappen was niet gemakkelijk.
Hij is heel zelfstandig. Hij is nog maar 19 jaar en hij is naar België gekomen, de taal geleerd, vrienden gevonden. Hij heeft ik hoop een mooie plek om te wonen. Hij heeft hier een job gevonden.
Het eerste in Antwerpen gekomen was voor mij een beetje een rare stad. Heel grote stad, hier kan ik niet gemakkelijk wonen. Maar na 3 maanden, ik dacht Antwerpen is de beste stad om te wonen. Antwerpen is mijn echte huis.
Ik zocht iemand om mee samen te wonen, omdat ik dat een fijne manier vind van wonen. En bij Curant vond ik het extra interessant dat hij iemand is met een andere achtergrond. En toch ook wel een beetje het gevoel dat je dan iemand helpt. En dat project is ons afgelopen en we hebben beslist om gewoon hier samen te blijven wonen. Dus ik denk dat dat bewijs is dat we graag samen wonen.
Ik praat soms met mijn familie en mijn mama altijd zegt dat hoe zit die jongen? Met wie woon je alleen of met iemand anders? Ik zeg altijd dat nee, ik woon met iemand Belg. Hij is een heel goed jongen en vriendelijk en hij helpt mij altijd. Zonder body was het een beetje moeilijk om België alleen te wonen.
Nu dat ik meer dan een jaar samenwoon met Wasil, blijkt ook dat die culturele verschillen dat niet het moeilijkste aan samenwonen. Het zou fijn zijn eigenlijk als meer mensen beseffen waarom dat geen behoefte is andere mensen naar hier komen. Integendeel, ik denk dat een heel grote uitdaging kan zijn. En hij heeft ons samenwonen ook wel bewezen, denk ik. Ik heb er heel veel aan overgehouden. Ik woon heel graag samen. Ik denk ook dat we wel een beetje vrienden zijn geworden.
Ja, hij is een beetje mijn vriend geworden en zoals grote broer.
Welcome to Global 3000. Tuneful traditions, how Brazilian weavers are weathering the coronavirus crisis through where fortunes lie, beekeeping instead of gold digging in Mozambique. And living in peace, how Jews and Arabs enjoy successful coexistence in a small village in Negev. In 2020, Israel had a population of 9.2 million, including 6.8 million Jews and 2 million Muslims. Around 500,000 were members of other faiths, Christians or Druze. But there are widely varying positions and opinions within the Israeli population, and they're not based on religion or ethnicity. The country has a young demographic, and there are loads of kids. 28% of the population are younger than 14. With an average of 3 births per woman, Israel has the highest fertility rate in the Western world. There's talk here of a demographic competition, which population group will be more powerful in future. But there are places that offer hope, where young and old, Jews and Arabs pull together. We take a look at a small village in the Negev desert.
5-year-old Azaria was born with Down syndrome, epilepsy, and chronic respiratory insufficiency.
You don't need to cry.
His mother, Miko Shafir, is an Orthodox Jew. His physiotherapist is an Arab Muslim Israeli.
Oh, look at all the strength he has. Mohammed is working with him all the time with his abilities that he has. He's a happy guy, but he wouldn't naturally develop on his own. Mohammed is excellent. He's a man that believes in dignity.
My long-term goal is for Azaria to be able to walk on his own someday. It'll take a lot of time and strength, but I'm sure he'll manage it. He's a great little guy.
Here, Muslims, Jews, and Christians are united by one desire: to help people with disabilities live their lives with dignity. This facility is grown into an entire village with a dance pool and small ranch that are used for therapeutic purposes. Adi Negev lies in the Negev desert. It was the brainchild of a man whose life story is unusual. Doron Almog, an Israeli general. His son, Eran, had autism and multiple disabilities. He died in 2007, age 23.
And hugged me. So number one goal was enveloping with love, giving the best treatment ever. That was number one, above all. And number two was changing Israel society. Make Israel a better society, less discrimination, arrogantic. In the corridor.
As a member of the military, strength and determination were mainly what counted in his younger years. Doron Almog took part in Operation Entebbe, the rescue mission which freed over 100 Israeli hostages at Uganda's Entebbe airport in 1976. Though he was celebrated as one of the heroes of Entebbe, after the birth of his son, Almog couldn't help but be hurt by Israeli society's treatment of people who didn't fit with the country's vigorous self-image.
Every day with him, we study and put me in his position, like, dear father, come judge the world from here, not from the place of a general, admired general with a lot of power, and with one order, thousands of people would do exactly what you ask them. Try to put yourself in my shoes. We decided, yes, the village, which will be the microcosmos of love.
Miko Shafir and her son are day visitors. Knowing Azaria is here allows the mother of 9 children to work as instructor. Employment in the workshop. They're all cared for by young volunteers from Germany. Anna Pfeiffer's time here is almost done. Another thing experienced was the military escalation between Gaza-based Hamas and the Israeli army last May. In Adi Negev, this was especially threatening, as the village lies very close to the Gaza Strip. Here in southern Israel, there were days when people had to seek shelter in bunkers dozens of times a day.
Despite the war that we experienced, the staff of different origins and religions were united by kindness. This is a place that tolerance and other such values are possible.
The village has become one of the biggest employers in this otherwise economically troubled region. It provides hundreds of secure jobs.
I work side to side with Muslims and Jewish religious person, and you learn that the religion you practice is not what's important. Your heart is important.
The physiotherapist hopes with all his heart that one day Azaria will be able to stand on his own 2 feet.
At Adi Negev, we have no religion. Our only goal is working towards bettering the children's situation so they can make progress. I always say we could be a countrywide role model for coexistence.
People with and without disabilities, sick people, and people of various religious faiths, together side by side, all sharing a belief in the value of human dignity.
For many people, digging for minerals is the only means of earning a living. Conditions are tough and profits often low. Our reporter Stefan Möll took the challenge of tracking down illegal gold diggers in the Chimanimani National Park in Mozambique. Their attempts to make a living are having a devastating effect on the environment.
The Chimanimani Mountains look like an untouched paradise. But Antonio Ngene knows better. He's once again on the trail of illegal gold prospectors. Usually the streams around here are clear, but not this one. So there must be an illegal mine somewhere upstream in the middle of Mozambique's Chimanimani National Reserve. His rangers detain every gold miner they catch.
Don't you know this is a nature reserve?
Only arrived yesterday. I heard others were here.
Don't you know this isn't allowed?
No, I didn't. A friend told me I should come.
So he didn't know either.
Right.
Where are the other Mozambicans?
The gold diggers are called gaimperos. The villagers see this group for the first time and call the police. Only repeat offenders face time in jail because the national park wants to win over the gold miners.
When we find somebody for the first time, we try to educate them. We talk to them about the negative impact of illegal gold mining. And we also tell them about alternatives and opportunities, for example, in tourism. But also about development projects in agriculture and nature conservation.
The
The gaimpeiros are a serious problem for the national park. Thousands of people lost everything due to Cyclone Idai in 2019. Now they look for gold and precious stones using the most rudimentary methods just to get an income. As a result, forests are being cut down and toxic mercury is contaminating the waters. So the national park is seeking to provide alternative sources of income. Gilberto Chibata is one of the first beneficiaries of a job creation scheme. He trained as a veterinarian and now helps farmers look after their cattle. The park is working with a conservation project called Mosquito to create jobs for people who live bordering the park. Before Chibata became a vet, he too was a gold prospector.
Yes, I used to do it too, but then I began to have doubts and understand that you can't always be a gold digger. The more I take out, the less there is, until one day it's totally depleted. And if there's nothing left, what should I live on? That's why I started working as a vet, and it's been well worth the effort.
Since 2017, the park created hundreds of jobs in agriculture, from organic food growing to sustainable beekeeping and live farming. But for many, gold is still more appealing. New mines always pop up. This one blocks an important elephant path of the park. A team from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy is on site. Last week, it evicted some gaimpeiros and burned down their camp. Obete Matini, the Ministry Inspector General, wants to make sure the mine remains closed. But at the same time, he also wants to deal with the miners.
Os operadores artesanais continuam a extrair de uma forma organizada.
We want the people here to keep mining, but in an organized manner that benefits both them and the government.
De passagem de associações para cooperativas.
To do this, they need to form cooperatives. We have a program that helps miners set up their own cooperatives. We also teach them methods that help them to work more effectively and without having such a negative impact on the environment.
To see what this looks like, we head to Terra, one of 5 cooperatives in Manica province and the only one in the buffer zone bordering the park. But they have to hand over 30 fees. The gold is mined and sold legally. The tunnels are safe, and the ministry has donated simple tools. However, some miners use highly toxic mercury to bind gold dust from the mud. A board member in the cooperative, Kumba, says it's the only way to stay competitive, because illegal miners don't care about environmental regulations, so they can push down the price.
Why are we as a cooperative left behind? Well, we have to work with the people, we have to register them, monitor the work, pay taxes and government fees. When there's a problem, for example, if one of our members has an accident in a mine, we have to take them to the hospital. So it's very difficult to compete with the elite mines.
Meanwhile, Antonio Ngoveni is meeting one of the beekeepers supported by the park and competition group Bio. He is unsure about the mining work in Tsetsera. Use of mercury is a serious violation of rules, but the mining cooperative has at least prevented hundreds of illegal gaimpeiros from coming to the park to look for gold. Still, Ngoveni doesn't want another cooperative here. He prefers to talk about the success of agriculture, which he hopes can be expanded.
With agricultural projects, of which beekeeping is just one example, we have been able to reduce the negative impact humans have on the environment by almost half. For one thing, we currently see that deforestation is decreasing.
These successes are sorely needed. The mine blocking the elephant path, where the police burned down the camp, is fully operational again by the very next day. The gaimperos will not stop looking for gold because they are poor and need the money.
If they stop us from digging here, we can at least buy some food and pay school fees. School fees, I cannot stress that enough.
The illegal prospectors will surely continue searching for gold. It's more dangerous than working cooperative, but also more lucrative.
They're small and made of plastic, sachets. These little packets might be handy, they land in the garbage. They don't rot. In our web special, we chart the journey of such a sachet, from the origins of the raw materials it's made from to its end on the rubbish heap. We find out why the number of sachets is growing and why they're so lucrative for businesses and so disastrous for our planet. Find out more at dw.com/plastic. Brazil is among the countries hardest hit by the coronavirus pandemic. According to officials of the South American nation,